Make sure you subscribe on all platforms and leave that 5-star review. Let's get it.
My follow-up question. Glorilla shot her shot at you a moment ago. You giving that any kind of action? It's 7 p.m. Friday.
I'm weak.
This is your first full season with the team. What are you most excited about?
Doing my black job.
Talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets.
Family, what's good? Welcome back to another edition of Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets. You already know how we do, family. Brought to you as always. It's your host, Justin, aka Just Blaze. Family, you know the drill. To get in contact with me, you can always hit me up and follow me on Twitter at JustBlaze_513, on IG at JustBlaze513, on Facebook and YouTube. Search Above the Rim Podcast, and also email the show as well, Above the Rim NBA Podcast at gmail.com. Tap in and leave the family a voicemail. You know the line is always open, 908-718-1592. Best way to support the show, you always know, is by copying your merch. Link is in my bio. Show some love. I appreciate it, of course, family. New season, new set, new things, new episodes. I'm back, family. I hope y'all missed me. I know y'all missed me. I was out on the scene for a little bit. I was a little low, but I'm here. I'm back. NBA season is starting up. We are ready to go, family. You know how we always do things on the lead-in. Lots of things on the docket to discuss today. The NBA is back. We have some preseason action going on. We have some media days. We have some key quotes for some key players. But first, we must address the blockbuster Knicks-Timberwolves trade that happened on the eve of media day. Everybody heard the news by now. We had a couple of preseason games with them. The New York Knicks acquired Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle Divincenzo in a first-round pick. Let me tell y'all, family, the New York Knicks had a top 3 NBA offseason this summer. Top 3, I'll tell you right now. They made the most splashy moves, the boldest move, and they were not afraid to take chances. They started off by acquiring Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets. It was about 4 or 5 draft picks, I believe. Re-signing OG Anunoby, trading Julius Randle out of town, and Divincenzo for Karl Anthony Towns. But this was one of those NBA deals that could really work out really well, or they could work out terribly, for both teams. But we're going to see, right? So let's talk about the fit a little bit. Karl Anthony Towns coming over here to New York. His addition will fundamentally shift the New York Knicks offense by spacing the floor, allowing the Knicks to use a 5-out attack, right? You're going to have Karl Anthony Towns starting at center. Most likely going to have OG at the 4, Mikal Bridges at the 3, either or Josh Hart at the 3, Mikal Bridges at the 2. Those are pretty interchangeable. And then Jalen Brunson rounding out the top 5, right? So they have a formidable top 5 right now, starting 5 that can roll out against pretty much anyone in the league. But you couldn't say that last year. You could not say that for years past with the New York Knicks. And clearly, they're going to use Karl Anthony Towns exclusively at center most nights, pretty much every night until we hear what's going to happen with Mitchell Robinson. But that can be a little bit problematic, keeping Karl Anthony Towns at the 5, right? But then again, you look at the centers in the East, and who do you have to really worry about with Karl Anthony Towns at the 5? Joel Embiid, clearly, who Cat wouldn't be able to deal with regardless, and no other center in the East can really deal with Joel Embiid, but maybe Bam Adebayo. But Karl Anthony Towns could slightly guard Bam Adebayo. In terms of height, there might be a little bit of girth, that you have to deal with, but they'll be all right. So from a physicality standpoint, that may be where the New York Knicks have some issues, but let's be clear. Karl Anthony Towns is no defensive anchor, and that's where the Knicks will have trouble, especially on the boards, in my opinion. I think they're going to have a little bit of trouble with physical teams who play very physical on the board, on the glass. But I will commend the Knicks. I'll say this. I will commend the Knicks on being the first team to really counteract the personnel of the latest NBA champion, the Boston Celtics, right? This was clearly a move. Bringing in Karl Anthony Towns, bringing in Mikal Bridges. This was clearly a move to combat the Celtics lineup. And I will say this is a solid counter, in my opinion, right? You got a jump shooting center, 2 versatile two-way wings, a glue man, and a point guard who can control pace. That to me is the makings of a championship team right there. is the basis of a championship team. You know what I mean? And the way I look at it, the Knicks are like a poor man's Celtics right now. And that's no disrespect at all, clearly, because the Celtics are the NBA champions. And let's also get this out the way. Please stop calling Karl Anthony Towns Bodega Cat, Big Purr, Big Meow, whatever nonsense nicknames you guys came with, whatever cat variation nicknames. He needs something new. He's playing in New York City. You can't come up with those corny ass nicknames. Cat, none of that. None of that shit is really gonna work over in New York. First of all, you gotta produce. All right, let's start this. Coming here to New York, you don't have a nickname. We're gonna call you Karl. Your mama named you Karl. We're gonna call you Karl. Karl Anthony Towns. And when you start to produce, when the Knicks get some wins, then we can find a new nickname for you. If you want to be Bodega Cat, you want to be whatever it is that you want to be, we'll find that later after you start producing. But you can't crown Karl Anthony Towns with a nickname yet. You got to come out with something new. It's a Big Apple, new squad, right? So more to discuss about Karl Anthony Towns later when I get into my Eastern Conference preview. But on the other side of that, Julius Randle leaving New York, Dante Divincenzo leaving New York, two critical pieces on the Knicks for the last few years. Obviously, Divincenzo had a nice run with the Knicks, part of that Villanova 4 that's now broken up. Sadly, they didn't even get a chance to really be on the court and see that chemistry between those four. But this is not to say that Divincenzo is going to some bottom feeders in the NBA. They are going to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were a top team in the West last year. Did they go to the West Finals? I believe the West Finals last year, and it's an opportunity for a new, fresh start for him, even though he may not have wanted it, right? So many people are not, discussing the Timberwolves side of this trade, but the Timberwolves came out of this trade much better. Let's be clear, they came out much better as well. The roster now makes a lot more sense with Randle and Divincenzo in the lineup and Karl Anthony Towns out, right? So Divincenzo, we know he's going to help bolster that Minnesota bench unit, which already includes Naz Reid, the reigning sixth man of the year. Divincenzo shot almost 40% from three last year, over 8 attempts last year. So he's really going to solidify that backcourt with Anthony Edwards, really capitalize on a lot of those open looks, a lot of those driving dishes from Anthony Edwards. And the Timberwolves, they ranked 15th in made three-pointers last year. So Divincenzo feels a real need for this team, and they really are going to be able to really use his services. And on the other side, the Knicks are really going to miss Divincenzo. He played a critical role in their playoff run. A couple of the games, he was their leading scorer. So Divincenzo is going to be a big loss for the New York Knicks, maybe even more so than Julius Randle, dare I might say, in terms of role, in terms of fit, in terms of chemistry. So Divincenzo, solid pickup for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Julius Randle. To me, he fits right in with this team as well, and actually perfect for the Minnesota Timberwolves and how what their style of play is for that team, right? So we know Minnesota, they're a tough, physical, defensive-minded team. Randle is as physical and tough as they come, especially at that 4 position. He's also a solid playmaker from the 4 spot, so he can really hold down the offense when Anthony Edwards rests. He could play some 4. He could play some 4 small ball 5. He could play with Naz Reid. He could play with Rudy Gobert. Julius Randle is comfortable playing with rim running, shot blocking, rim protecting centers is in Rudy Gobert. So I think it's a great fit for Julius Randle. I think it's going to be a nice refresh, a restart from him. I said in one of my previous episodes, it was about time for Julius Randle to go, because when you're the previous star of a franchise and then they bring in a new star, or a new star emerges on the same franchise that you were on and they are a little bit better than you, chances are you start to get phased out. Why allow the Knicks to phase you out? You might as well start somewhere fresh and new. It's not like you're going to some bottom feeders, as I said before. You're going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They got Anthony Edwards over there. They got Naz Reid over there. They got Rudy Gobert over there. They got some pieces that can help you, really get over the hump. And that's really what you're looking for. So I don't think it's really a bad spot. I think Julius Randle should look at the trade in a good way. Is it a fresh start? And he can really help out this team. And with that, before we move on to the next thing, after the trade happened, we saw the Timberwolves come into the Garden this week and played in New York Knicks, and Dante Divincenzo got into it with Rick Brunson and Tibbs, the dad of Jalen Brunson. And this was interesting. It was funny to me. People on Twitter were making a big deal out of it, but clearly, we know Divincenzo was tight. He was pissed off about the trade. He didn't want to get traded to Minnesota, but hey, he had to deal with it. So He was a little upset about that. He wanted to voice his opinion to Tibbs, to Rick Brunson, that they said he couldn't finish, and that's why they traded him. But that's water under the bridge. So it's a business at the end of the day. I don't feel like the Knicks really wanted to trade him, but I feel like that the Minnesota Timberwolves were asking for Divincenzo, so they had to oblige if they wanted to get Karl Anthony Towns. So Divincenzo, I wouldn't be that tight. I know they traded you away from your boy, so maybe that may be, the driving force behind this. But it's all good, man. I think Divincenzo is going to do excellent in Minnesota. I think he's going to be a great piece for them. Let's get to some news around the NBA. Gotta talk about this. The number one story probably coming out of media day, coming out of the preseason. Bronny James. Bronny James made his preseason debut for the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron and Bronny made history by becoming the first father-son duo to play in the same preseason game during the Lakers' loss to the Phoenix Suns in the preseason. Now, we all seen Bronny. He didn't get a lot of minutes. He got a couple of minutes. People have their various opinions about Bronny. Should he be there? How LeBron got him onto the Lakers. I didn't really want to talk too much about it. I briefly talked about it in the last episode, if you heard a little while back. My only issue was Bronny, how he came into his rookie press conference. He was a little underdressed. You guys, you know me, you know how I am. I love to dress to impress. You got to look professional. You got to be ready to look the part at all times. And Bronny wasn't doing that shit. He came to the press conference in a hoodie, some sweats, some regular gear. This is the first time he being drafted into the NBA. A lot of people are looking at you sideways with how you got to the NBA, so you got to prove them wrong. Be professional. Be on your job. Be on your shit. Come on, Bronny. Be professional. But let's talk about his play on the court. Preseason game, he didn't have a lot of minutes. Like I said before, JJ Redick, head coach of the Lakers, has been one of his, biggest, strongest supporters. He's been pushing Bronny James. He praised Bronny James's effort, especially on the defensive end, as he recorded a couple blocks, a couple steals in the preseason. He did struggle on the offensive end. Let's be clear. He only recorded 2 points, 1 of 6 shooting, had a rebound, had an assist. His lone bucket didn't really come to the end of the game. But listen, it's too early to be making any real judgments on Bronny James, right? He won't even be playing meaningful minutes in the season to really fully evaluate him, especially this year. He's probably going to be sent to the G League. Probably might get a couple of minutes here and there, some spot minutes and some blowouts. But there was a rumor out that Shams said that JJ Redick is looking to play Bronny James in the first game of the season to get it out of the way, to get the hoopla, to get the all the media attention out the way. And, maybe that might be a good thing. But let's not put him in with his actual real game minutes. So if it's a close game, if it's a tight game throughout the entire game, then I don't know if he's going to really put Bronny in, but he probably should hold off until Bronny's ready. That's just my opinion. But shout out to LeBron. Shout out to Bronny for making history with that. Rich Paul, Bronny's agent, came out and said that there's no downside to Bronny entering the NBA after only one college season. He said he only sees positives in Bronny James opting to enter the NBA. But I don't know if I agree with that, to be honest. I could easily think of at least one downside. He may not be good. He may not be impactful. Now, what's going to happen if Bronny's not good enough? If he's not an impactful player through the course of his career? Now, he signed a 4-year guarantee deal with the Lakers. That's already a little skeptical, a little suspect, that he got that long of a deal being a second-round pick. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But there are no guarantees in the NBA. He may have got that contract, but he still has to live up to that contract and still produce. Now, I assume Bronny's going to be okay in the NBA, obviously because of his lineage. He's going to have, great mentors to learn from. But is he going to be okay? Is he going to be good? Or is he going to be great? What is Bronny going to do in the league this year? Only time will tell it. Now, I actually hope that Bronny James does get some real regular season minutes, man. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. So we'll see how Bronny James works out, if he's going to get some minutes in the first game. Y'all let me know in the comments, YouTube, if you think Bronny's going to get some minutes, or how many games you think Bronny's actually going to play this season. If I had to do like an over or under for how many games for Bronny this season, I will say I'm going to go 10. I'm going to go 10. So let me know in the comments what y'all think. Over under 10 games for Bronny James in this season. Let me know y'all thoughts. In addition to that, the Lakers unveiled their new City Edition jerseys. I like these. They're solid. I like the black trim. The black and purple trim is kind of solid. It's about time they bring back some of these black jerseys, black and purple with a little bit of yellow. They got a new court there as well. So I like the jerseys that the Lakers are bringing back for a new season. Another team bringing back some jerseys are the Toronto Raptors. They're bringing back the Vince Carter purple jerseys, the Damon Stoudemire purple jerseys. We love to see that. I like those. I mean, the team ain't shit, but the jerseys are solid. So at least they're going to be giving the fans something good to at least look at, because I tell you right now, the team they probably won't make the playoffs, especially with Scotty Barnes, as your number one option, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett. They got a couple of small pieces, but let's see what type of noise they make. But I love the jersey, so I'll keep it there. Also on our docket, the Miami Heat, got to give them some love. The Miami Heat are naming their home floor in honor of the Godfather Project, Pat Riley, to celebrate his 30th season with the franchise. Tremendous shout out to him. Shout out to the Heat organization. Shout out to Pat Riley for being with the Heat for so many years, over 30 years. You don't really see that very often in the NBA. So shout out to the longevity of Pat. He's a god in the NBA. So, we always show Pat Riley a lot of love. He joined the Heat in 1995, won 3 championships with the franchise, and he joins Boston Celtics icon Red Auerbach as the only head coaches in NBA history to receive such honor with a court named after them. So, shout out to Pat Riley. Shout out to the Heat for championing their legends in the franchise. The Los Angeles Clippers, PJ Tucker, have mutually agreed that the forward won't be with the team for the time being, as the two parties look to find a new situation, a new home for the 13-year vet. And this is strange to me, because you can't tell me there isn't a team in the NBA that couldn't use PJ Tucker's services. You can't tell me that. Y'all know I'm a big PJ Tucker guy. I think he brings a lot to the table. He brings a lot of intangibles to a roster. He brings a lot of defensive intensity. And also some leadership. Let's not forget about the leadership. PJ Tucker is a leader of men, and you need those kind of guys in your locker rooms. You need that leadership. You need his defensive grit. You need his defensive communication. You need his hustle. Come on, man. There's a lot of factors of what PJ Tucker brings to the table that he can contribute to many franchises. And clearly, this is a numbers issue. This has something to do with his salary, because he opted into the final year of his $11.5 million deal this summer. So hopefully the Clippers could find a trade partner for him. We'll see if they can sooner rather than later, because we want to see PJ Tucker on the floor and really helping out another franchise. So we'll see how that shakes out. Moving on. NBA milestones watch. Family, I try to do this every year going into the season. Let y'all know which type of players in the NBA could make history this season. Every year there's going to be some players that makes some type of history, and this year is no different. Last season, we had LeBron James, who became the first player in NBA history to score over 40,000 points, while Kevin Durant cracked the top 10 in the league's all-time scoring. And even more players can make some history going into the season. Talked about LeBron last year. He can make some more history this year. He's set to tie Vince Carter for a record for the most seasons in the NBA at 22, which is an incredible feat by LeBron, incredible feat by Vince Carter, who just got enshrined into the NBA Hall of Fame. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Robert Parrish, Kevin Willis, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki all played 21 seasons, and 4 other players, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe Bryant, Jamal Crawford, Udonis Haslem, reached the 20th season mark. So big things there for LeBron James. Obviously, we know his longevity is second to none. LeBron is also 850 minutes away from becoming the NBA's all-time leader in minutes played. He's also 69 games away from being number 2 in games played. So LeBron James' longevity shit is all over the place. We already know that. He's also set to jump some other legends and some key counting stats. 33 steals, surpassed Scottie Pippen for 7th all time. He can move past Moses Malone with 142 made free throws for 2nd all time. And he can also pass Kyle Korver with 40 made triples for 7th all time on the three-point list, which is an incredible feat for LeBron James. So obviously we know him and LeBron and Bronny is the first father-son duo to ever play in the NBA game, which will probably happen in game 1, as I alluded to a little bit before. So shout out to LeBron, shout out to his longevity. Another guy was making history this season, my guy, CP3. Chris Paul only needs to appear in about 36 games to reach the top 20 in games played this season. He's entering his 20th season in the NBA. He's 198 assists and 71 steals away from passing Jason Kidd for second on both all-time lists. John Stockton currently holds the records with over 15,806 assists. So shout out to CP3 there. He could climb up those ranks, and he definitely will be second all-time in assists and second all-time in steals by season's end. And I want to hear what the haters have to say now. What you got to say now? James Harden, he can lead from 20th to 15th on the league's all-time scoring ladder with only 784 points, passing KG, Havlicek, Paul Pierce, Dominique Wilkins, and Tim Duncan. So shout out to James Harden there. The Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, only needs around 1,500 points to reach the 20,000 point plateau, which is also a big move for him. Usually that's the benchmark for when you're getting into Hall of Fame. And obviously we know that's going to be easy for Giannis to get into. Jokic, he only leads 8 triple-doubles to surpass Magic Johnson for third most in NBA history. Shout out to Jokic for that. DeMar DeRozan, he could reach the 25,000 point mark this season, putting him ahead of legends such as Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, Ray Allen. So that's a big accomplishment, a big feat for DeMar DeRozan. So shout out to him for hitting that 25,000 mark. I brought it up a little bit earlier, but the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame Shrineman, Springfield, Massachusetts, happened over this weekend. The 2024 class was inducted. It includes 13 inductees from the NBA, WNBA, college, and high school. Some of the names, because I want to give them some love, give them their just due. Some of the headliners for this: Vince Carter, Chauncey Billups, my guy, shout out to Chauncey for getting into the NBA Hall of Fame. Michael Cooper, Walter Davis, Bo Ryan, Charles Smith, Simon Augustus, Dick Barnett, Harley Redden, Michelle Timms, Doug Collins, Herb Simon, and Jerry West for some of the other names that got also inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame this week. So shout out to those brothers, shout out to those guys and ladies as well for getting into the Hall of Fame. And before we get on out of here, man, I want to talk about some notable comebacks this season. I know we hype for some comebacks. Everybody loves a good comeback story, right? So this upcoming season is going to highlight some good comeback stories, players recovering from injuries and others who, aim to restore their careers. Got Lonzo Ball coming back. Shout out to Lonzo. He's ready to return to Bulls after being out since January of 2022 due to a lot of knee issues. So Lonzo Ball making his comeback. Shout out to him. His brother LaMelo Ball also making a comeback after playing only 22 games last season before an ankle injury, cut his season short. Ben Simmons, the corpse of Ben Simmons is coming back. Fortunately or unfortunately for the Brooklyn Nets, we'll see. This will be the final year of Ben Simmons' 5-year, $177 million contract, making his performance very crucial for the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to talk about them in my Eastern Conference season preview coming up soon. So we'll see what Ben Simmons can do. He's been looking okay in the preseason. I'm not, nothing's going to knock my socks off when it comes to Ben Simmons. He looked mid in the preseason. He looked mid in the summer. He looked mid last year. Well, hopefully he can be better this year because the Brooklyn Nets need something, because as far as I'm concerned, this man has been stealing money. We'll see what Ben Simmons can do. Also, my favorite comeback of this season, Ja Morant. Ja Morant is also making a major comeback this season following a serious right shoulder injury that he suffered earlier last year, early in the season. Derailed this whole season. Obviously, we know he had, the gun issues and all of that, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about none of that. I care about the on the court playing basketball, and Ja Morant is ready to do that again. It's going to be a renaissance year for Ja Morant. I know he's going to be into MVP consideration. I know he's going to be in the top 5 of MVP candidates. You can hear me screaming about him all year because I'm one of Ja Morant's biggest supporters, and I think he learned his lesson last year. Basketball needs to be the focus. You need to be professional. I think Ja Morant is definitely going to do that. So that's just some of the notable comebacks coming into the season. Everybody's going to be looking out for those guys. And family, make sure you guys are tuning in for my upcoming episodes. I'm going to have a Western Conference preview. I'm going to have an Eastern Conference preview as well. So family, I appreciate you for joining me once again for another episode. Just did a little snippet episode just on a little comeback. Get your feet wet. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you hit me up on Twitter, IG, Facebook with your NBA takes like you already always do. Send me a voicemail for the new listeners, 908-718-1592. I'll play all my voicemails on the show if they're good. If you got some NBA takes, I want to hear what you got to say. Subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is episode 225, family, and we out.